Good morning, everybody. It is time for Tao of the Day. It's 8 a.m. Well, it's going on 8 a.m. here in Central Time, right outside Chicago. And I am your host for Tao of the Day, Martin John. And yeah, everything is looking bright and sunny. No, it's not always everywhere, but when we when we have the Tao, everything looks a little brighter. And I'm inviting you up to pick a number between 1 and 81. And oh, Jose, you are on my list of people to contact today. So here you are. Welcome, brother.
Hey, good morning, Martin. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. I'm doing really well, man.
That's
Like I
good
said,
to
you
hear
are,
you.
you are. I'm going to be reaching out to you today to schedule our final session. But
Awesome.
yeah, so how have you been?
I've been amazing.
Yeah, I'm glad to
Yeah.
hear that. I'm glad to hear that, man. And I'm looking forward to catching up and learning about how amazing you have been. But for our for our purposes, we're here to talk about the Tao. What is your number for today?
64.
64. I'm taking notes just so I can remember where we're all at and what I've done today. So 64. Here we go. This is a long one, so most of the long ones usually kind of like have a consistent theme. So we'll pay attention to that, and then we'll go through it line by line. But what it says is, what is rooted is easy to nourish. What is recent is easy to correct. What is brittle is easy to break. What is small is easy to scatter. Prevent trouble before it arises. Put things in order before they exist. The giant pine tree grows from a tiny sprout. The journey of 1,000 miles starts from beneath your feet. Rushing into action, you fail. Trying to grasp things, you lose them. Forcing a project to completion, you ruin what was almost ripe. Therefore, the master takes actions by letting things take their course. He remains as calm at the end as at the beginning. He has nothing, thus he has nothing to lose. What he desires is non-desire. What he learns is to unlearn. He simply reminds people of who they have always been. He cares about nothing but the Tao, thus he can care for all things. Like I said, long one, but how does that land for you?
Well, that resonates pretty. That
Yeah, what's
resonates
going
a
on?
lot in me. That's very. I can say I relate to that very much right now.
Yeah. Yeah, well, what's going on right now that this is relating?
Well, I'm doing a lot of things not for myself, but for others,
No?
and of course, allowing things that are out of my control to, you know, just turn out the way they're supposed to.
Well, let me ask you, since this one line is popping out to me, and I don't know if this resonates with you at all, where might in your life you be rushing into action?
Hmm. Actually, helping my family,
Yeah?
my parents at the moment.
Yeah.
I know my children are okay, but my parents need me.
Yeah. And sometimes when we rush into action, like it says here, it says rushing into actions you fail. Trying to grasp at things, you lose them. Forcing a project to completion, you ruin what was almost ripe. This is talking about staying calm in the midst of stress, staying calm in the midst of, like what you had said was, they need me. Like staying calm in that sense where it's just like, well, maybe you want them to need you, or maybe you are in a position where it's not as where it's tough to be vulnerable. It's like you have to put yourself in that position that there can't be weakness. And we're going to start going through this line by line, but what this starts with is like, what is rooted is easy to nourish. How does that resonate with you? What does that mean?
I mean, so many different things, so many different ways, because, you know, the most difficult things are really easy to nourish. And you just gotta give and show a lot of love.
Well, what is rooted is easy to nourish. Let's look at a plant, right? And a
Yeah,
plant is rooted in the ground, and every morning the dew seeps into the ground, and each plant is able to gather because of the fact that the dew is there, right? It's on the plant, and then it drips into the ground, and the plant can absorb the dew from it, but it can also dry out. But it's like as soon as your lawn is like rooted, you can give it water once a week. But when you seed it, you have to give it water every day. You have to keep it wet all the time, you know?
absolutely.
But once it's rooted, so it's like when you have a relationship, whether it's with your parents or whether it's with your kids or whether it's with your at your job or whatever, it's like when it's rooted, it's easier to nourish than when it's just starting. But the next line, what is recent is easy to correct, right? If you seed something and you're like, uh-oh, like I didn't want to seed this area, well, you can sweep those seeds before they get rooted over to the area that you wanted them to be in.
Absolutely.
So when you're in this position of like what we were talking about earlier, rushing into action, you fail. You want to make sure that, okay, is this recent activity something that I want to root? Because once this is rooted, it's easy to nourish that. It's easy to stay in that position that you have rooted yourself.
Correct.
It's easy to nourish an addiction once it's rooted. But when it's recent, it's easy to correct. So if you have an addiction, and I talk about addiction, not that you have addiction issues, but when you realize that, oh, this is a direction I don't want to go, it's easy to correct that direction. But once it's rooted, it's easy to nourish. Whether you're nourishing a good thing or bad thing doesn't matter. It's not about good or bad. It's just, but when something is rooted, it's easy to nourish. What is brittle is easy to break. What is small is easy to scatter. This continues in this really beautiful way, and I'd love to, hear your thoughts on this. Prevent trouble before it arises. Put things in order before they exist. The giant pine tree grows from a tiny sprout. How does that resonate from you?
Well, it kind of tells me that, you can stop a problem before overreacting,
Mm-hmm.
instead of, taking it to an extreme extent where you can just walk away and avoid that from escalating
Yeah. How do you think it's possible to put things in order before they exist?
by planning it.
By planning it. But if you don't know they exist yet, how are you going to plan it?
Well, like we all say, we all have goals and things to accomplish.
Mm.
So, I mean, we don't know how it's going to go planned, but we do know a way to accomplish that plan.
Mm-hmm. And where and when you're kind of making that plan, where do you look? Like either within yourself or within your life? I mean, do you look to others? Do you look to yourself? How do you find that?
Well, I like to speak to my higher power a lot, especially when
Mm-hmm.
I wake up in the mornings at 4 o'clock. I always wake up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it's amazing because something always tells me to wake up. It's
Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful time to get up.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
It's interesting. The giant pine tree grows from a tiny sprout. This is a like just the littlest thing, the littlest shift you can make can end up being the biggest pine tree in your life, right? The biggest thing that you can accomplish. Like it's just like a tiny thing. It's not about like always making the big shifts. You can do the tiniest thing, and like if you make a 1 degree shift today, and if that shift is sustainable, and you continue to move on a path that is 1 degree shifted from the way you normally do things today. And a lot of people say if you make 1% change today, you can make 100% changes in 100 days. And I disagree with that because I think that that's not really sustainable. But if you make a slight shift and you just maintain that single shift, you're not just 1 degree off, right? Because if you want to go from Chicago to Tennessee and you are 1 degree off when you take off, you might not land in Tennessee. You might land in Georgia. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
Like
You're gonna
you're
end
gonna
up in the
like
wrong direction.
because the angle gets wider and wider and wider. Like the angle doesn't get wider, but the direction that you're going gets further and further away every day. And so you just take it one step at a time. If you can make one single shift today, and like if like you were talking about with making plans, yes, you make plans, but you also recognize that there's a time for those plans. And then you make that single shift today, and when you're ready to put those plans into action, you do. You don't rush into action, because when rushing into action, you fail. Trying to grasp things, you lose them, and forcing a project to completion, you ruin what was almost ripe. We always have to make sure that it's right. And in understanding this, right, we have to be with ourselves. Like you were saying, you got to look to your higher power. And you don't beg your higher power for things. You have a relationship with your higher power,
Exactly. Yes.
you know?
Absolutely.
And then we move on in the last section of this starts with, therefore the master takes action by letting things take their course. Like those that thing could seem dichotomous. It could seem opposing of one another. How can you take action and let things take their course? It's like you are part of all of the things. So yes, action sometimes is the thing you take, but the action that you take is letting things take their course. Even you letting you take your course, letting you take those inspired actions that move you forward.
Yeah.
Remaining calm at the end as at the beginning.
And that's been working out for me perfectly, honestly.
Yeah.
It's been working. Everything's fit going into place. Like, I really don't have to do much.
Mm-mm.
And everything's just falling into place. And I'm getting blessed every single day by things I wouldn't even imagine.
Right. And what he desires here, it says, like, what he desires is non-desire. What he learns is to unlearn. Like, it's not about you being able to imagine it. It's about you being there and letting it be as it is. And then it is imagined for you. It's not something that you have to act on. It's not something you have to reach out for. It's not something you have to grasp, because as it said here, trying to grasp things, you lose them. Being able to sit back and, as it said earlier, like letting things take their course. You simply remind yourself and you remind those around you of who they have always been. You care about nothing but the Tao. Nothing, to care about like nothing but like it's not important that the project works the way you want it to. The project, it's that you are here, present with what is. Thus, you can care for all things, and nothing falls through the cracks.
Wow. That's amazing.
Hmm.
I love it.
Yes, it's a beautiful. It's, you know, I was actually thinking about this one the other day, just a section of this one the other day, and it was really it was, you know, letting things take their course and putting things into order before they exist. You can do that. You don't need to know everything before it happens. You can let things take their course, and when you do, they will inevitably fall into place. Jose, thank you so much. We'll talk a little later today, man.
Yes, Brandon. Hey, you have a blessed day. Thank you
You as
for
well.
having me
You
as
as
your
well, brother.
guest.
Wendy. Wendy is coming up. Wendy is such a beautiful support of mine. Thank you so much for all of your support. Wendy, how are
Hello.
you?
I'm so good. Welcome back.
Thank
Welcome
you. It has
back.
been, it was a lot of things.
I know. I saw your videos and yeah.
Mm.
So pretty amazing, huh?
Yeah, very amazing. It was the darkness is you know, when it's there for so long, you forget it's there,
Mhm.
but you're in it, and it's a pretty intense experience. And then coming out was really intense, as my video kind of expressed. And then and I'll be talking more about this, but there was a point on day 3 where I got stung by a scorpion.
Yikes. Yeah, we have
Yeah.
those down here.
Yeah, and I didn't know anything about them, and there was a lot of like fear that I had to face because I was alone
Mhm.
for 10 hours after, you know, like I got stung, and I was going to be alone for 10 hours with my mind after that, and I had never gotten stung by a scorpion or anything, so it was a pretty interesting experience. I'll recount it over time, but
Yeah. It. Well, I know you were missed, and but yes, we have those. And with my first encounter with them, I had only the idea from movies that you're stung by a scorpion and you die. No, not
That
true.
that was that was yes, that was what was going through my mind because I was alone in a dark room with no internet. Like I
Yeah.
had I had to just and I got cold sweats, and I got like weird tastes and sensations in my mouth, hands, and feet, and it was pretty intense.
Yeah, I think there are different kinds, but depending on where you are, the ones down here, I don't they won't put you down. So
Yeah, no, not no deadly insects in Guatemala is what I found out after 10 hours of just being in my head. So
well,
but it was
welcome
it was
back.
amazing. Thank you so much. It's so good to be back. I'm really excited to be doing Tao of the Day again,
Yeah,
and yeah, just being here.
I gave my I went when I went to Dallas to do my Reiki retreat. I actually gave my Tao. I carry it with me. I left it for my husband's neighbor,
Mhm.
and she's going through some stuff. And I had borrowed a book of hers. He ended up my husband started reading it. Then he took it from Texas to Florida. So it is here in my organized chaos somewhere. I have to get it back to her because she said, "Well, actually, I have some notes in the margin." I said, "I know." I said, "My husband picked it up, and for him to pick up something and start reading it, I'm just gonna not touch that one. He's gonna have
Mhm.
it."
That's right. It's just like, oh wow, look at it. Like
Yeah. So I was
that's
like, she said, "No, no, that's fine," because she likes him a lot. So I said, "It will come back to you." But I actually had already had a little token that I'd wrapped up, which was my Dow, because I felt like she needed it, and because she thought we were going to move back there, and
mm,
and she talked to me a lot. I like to listen to people, and she really started pouring her heart out to me one day, and she's like, "I've never talked to anybody like this." And I said, "Well, I'm a pretty good listener." But
yeah.
you
And
know
you know, like I think that when we can really love and appreciate ourselves, people can see that ability within them through us. And
yes.
then they start, like I put out a quote in an email today that was like, "Do you think you can help other people? You're wrong. There are no other people." And
Right.
that just kind of like pointed to this idea of like, hey, when you are able to love yourself in a deep way, the people around you can see that they can do it as well.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
that's it. That's it. Like it's really a simple sort of thing, and you don't have to solve other people's problems. They'll
Nope.
do they'll do that. but you
Mm-hmm.
just have to love yourself. And
Yep.
and that's the thing that gets difficult in our world because we're
Yeah, absolutely.
constantly looking outside of ourselves for answers.
And trying to save people and I found that doesn't work. And
Right.
I've evolved into that space. And
Yeah.
so basically, just by listening to her, I honestly I just went to check. She's got a little boy and a dog, and I love both little kids and dogs. They love me. I love them. And so I was checking in on her. I just something told me I needed to check in on her one day, and she was having a particularly really bad day. She'd been crying, and I just said, "Are you okay?" And she just poured her soul out to me. We
Yeah.
barely met each other, and I hung around for a while, and I said, "You know what? I'm moving back here, and we'll talk." And so then situation changed, and now I'm not going back there. So, um, it was so sad for me to tell these people that I connected with that, what, I'm not going to be your neighbors, but they were such dear people, and she is in a kind of predicament right now, I think, with her life. And so I said, you know what, take this. I said, I've had this book for, oh my gosh, 20 some years, and it's paperback and it's whatever. But I said, take this. And I wrote my contact information on the inside. She already had it in her phone, but just a little reminder that,
Yeah.
what, if you need me, I'm always there. I may not be next door, but you can reach out to me, and I will get that book back to you.
Yeah. That's so beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
That's just us living our lives and just being. This is what it means to be at one with the Tao. This is what it means to be a master. That is just in that moment. You just allow it to be, and it's like, hey, it's okay. This is
Hmm.
where we are.
Yeah, exactly,
That's
exactly. And
beautiful.
and I knew she needed it, and I even told my husband because he was so busy in his own world. He worked a lot, and he keeps to himself.
Hmm.
And I said, you know, pay attention. She's got a little boy. I think she's going through some stuff. I've told them you're here, and if they ever need you, I think they'll probably come and knock on your door. So don't think it's weird, and and be there. And he's like, of course, of course. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, do we have a number today?
Yes, I think we're gonna go with number 6.
Number 6. Very short.
Yeah.
And this is really beautiful because I think this really kind of resonates with what we were talking about. The Tao is called the Great Mother, empty yet inexhaustible. It gives birth to infinite worlds. It is always present within you. You can use it any way you want.
Hmm. I like it. I like it because I
So
did. I physically did when I gave her mine.
that's
so,
right. Yeah,
so yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
The Tao is called the Great Mother. Like how do you resonate with the Great Mother? What is that? What is that? What is that like image? What images does that spark to you? Because I know you and your daughter are starting new ventures, and like you have a relationship with your daughter that's very, close and uh,
And weird
profound in
sometimes.
many. Yeah, my guess is like it has a lot of facets to it.
It
So
absolutely does. And my relationship to both my daughters are incredibly unique. They are two absolute individuals who are very different. Um, so their journeys are different. I just had this conversation with my youngest daughter last night because she and her sister do things in very different ways. Meaning, I see myself in both of these people, but yet they are very different people, and their approach to things are different. And my older daughter tends to be a little more um, emotional, whereas my younger daughter can be a little more pragmatic, and she's probably more like me. It just depends. I see it. It's an ebb and flow thing, but yeah, I have to sit back and just kind of observe everybody, give everybody the wisdom that I can, and kind of say, it's their journey. Do your best. Because they work together. They try to work together. They're on two different. One's on the East Coast, one's on the West Coast. So the time thing's different. Their dynamic is different. My oldest has children, my youngest doesn't yet. But she appreciates her time in her life, and she's all about adhering to strict schedules, and so it's a different thing. But being the mother, and not being the mother that sits and talks about her kids behind their backs to other children, which this is toxic, people. um don't get in one kid's ear and go, well, your sister did this or your brother did this, or no, never
Mm.
do that. That's being a child.
I
um
was raised that way. I was
yeah,
raised that
that creates so many problems. And
way. Yeah.
and also don't unload your stuff on your children as if they're your best friends. They're not. They're your children. Keep that relationship in perspective as well. But I think being the great mother, for me, and learning, because sometimes I don't feel like I'm a great mother, but
Yeah.
um, but learning to be somebody who can step back, be there for everybody, reassure everybody, and kind of let them navigate their own waters.
That was beautiful because, like, it says here, right? Like, it's called the Great Mother, empty yet inexhaustible. It gives birth to infinite worlds. Like, by stepping back, you're allowing yourself to be empty and allow them, just like you said, to be who they are. Like, you are just allowing them, like you gave
Mm-hmm.
birth to the infinite possibilities of two different people.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, that's what, like, by like the Tao allows that of us.
Mm-hmm.
It's empty yet inexhaustible. Like, there's no way that your children can can use you up completely. Yes, you can get burned out and all of those sorts of things if they were to lean on you in a way that was unhealthy, but that's not a way that you don't present yourself in a way that allows that, because it's not your life that they're leading, it's theirs.
Right.
and
And
and go
yeah.
on.
No, well, that's something that I've just recently been able to do. That's
Yeah.
not something that came easily to me, not
No.
by any means. I
No.
always wanted to fix things. I always wanted to
Hmm.
protect each individual and say, well, you don't understand your sister. She's this way. You don't understand your sister. She's this. Well, you know what? Nope. You guys got to figure that out for yourselves,
That's
because
right.
I can't do that. I can't involve myself in their relationships. I can do it in a supportive way if they need to vent a little, but control that narrative. Keep it in the parameters of, it's okay. Yes, I understand. You understand she's different. Yes, yes. Keep it
Hmm.
positive and allow someone the space to vent a little without being gossipy and
Right.
weird.
Without letting them follow their fantasies to such a
Hmm.
degree
Yeah.
that it's exhausting.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's where we find this empty yet inexhaustible. And of course, that is a path that you have been on for a long time. Once again,
Hmm.
not something that has always been, but something that has developed over time. And
Hmm.
then we have this final, like, two lines. It says, it is always present within you, and we could utilize that in the sense of your daughter. It is always present for you, right? Because if we look at the physical and you as being the great mother, or the Tao in the whole, it is always present within you. You can use it any way you want.
Yep. Yeah. And I've had to learn self care through
Mhm.
over mothering, through hovering, through sticking my nose where it doesn't belong.
Mm,
It's been a long journey, but you know what? It's been a good one, because my relationships are better. I try not to take things personally when I've worked really hard for someone and then they don't really want to reciprocate that.
yeah.
um, you know, I try not to get my feelings hurt, but I'm a human being as well. And so that kind of conversation is what I have a husband for, because, not to take it to my other kid. Um, then he and I can sit back and go, okay, well, let's see what's going on here. And I'm very fortunate that I have that, because, or I have a best friend that I can do that with too. But, it's good as parents, we can because I have said before to my husband, what did I do wrong as a mom? He said, well, no, hold on. We as parents raised these people. Let's look at it that way. So he's a pretty wise person too.
Yeah, and that there is no wrong in raising kids. Like, they each have their own contracts they have to
Hmm.
deal with, and they can utilize you and your husband and the other people in their lives and the Tao any way that they want. And if they use it in a way that is harmful to them, you're not like they can do that. That's a possibility.
Hmm.
They can
Hmm.
take your advice wrong
Oh yeah,
if
they
if
can.
they want, and
Yep.
that's okay. That's okay. Like, it's
Okay.
not it's not your job to live their life, and
No.
that's the great mother.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop out real quick.
Yeah. Why don't you, if you want to come back up to just land, I would, yeah, please do. And then Julie is in line. So it says I have two guests waiting. Wendy, did you? Yeah, there you are. Okay.
Okay, yeah, and just yeah, I just wanted to say goodbye,
Yeah.
and because I know that everybody wants to welcome you back, so I'm gonna jump
Yeah.
off.
Well,
And
Wendy, I think you are a great mother, and I think you're doing wonderful. My best to you and your daughters and your husband. Welcome back.
yes, thank you, and welcome back to you. And I will be listening.
All
So
right.
bye bye.
Bye bye. Julie, my buddy, how's it going? Good to have good to have you back.
I'm around, you know me.
How are you, my dear?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm having a good day. It's just a chill day.
Good.
Just going to pop off and see Brad's mum in a minute for the first time since November that I've seen her last. And so that's kind of exciting, really, to see how
Yeah.
that pans out.
Yeah.
I do love her a lot. So it'll be nice to see her. Just
Why has
feel
it been so
her.
long?
Because in England we have been COVID protecting, so
Mm.
she's only been allowed to have three visitors that are her sons. That's Brad, Julian, and Jason. They're
Oh,
her sons. So I couldn't go and visit, as because she was only allowed those three. So
yeah.
it's the time that I'm going to go and see her since I left her. Well, she left here, the house that we're in now,
Mm-hmm.
in November. I
Oh,
faced
wow.
her, but it's not. It's we've been not in physical contact, if you know what I mean, since then. So that's going to be quite amazing, really.
Yeah. It's like
Mm.
it's interesting when you go through a stretch of time in one way, and then there's a signpost that you pass, and once you pass that signpost, like, nothing's the same. Like, now, like, you are going to be filled with this relationship again, and it'll just be a new phase, and
Yes.
it's gonna mark the COVID situation for you. It's gonna mark the relationship, and it may mark you seeing somebody for the first time as like dying.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's it's gonna it's gonna it's gonna be a big deal.
It is going to be a big deal, which is why I came on here and told you about it,
Yeah.
as you are my
So,
friend.
yeah.
So I thought I'd pop that one in there and see what you think.
Yeah,
And
and
the
I
only
think
thing that I'm
it's really
relying on,
what's that?
there's something I'm relying on. Something I'm relying on is we spent 13 years together shopping and going on holidays and having fun and sitting down for meals together. And, we were very close.
Yeah.
And during the time the sons have been visiting, she's always mentioned my name continually: Julie, 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 Julie. And the reason is because the one thing she hasn't forgotten in all of that time is how I make her feel. How I make her feel. I fill her with love and joy, and that memory of that feeling is still there. Because Brad tells me, he FaceTimes, when he's there and we talk, and you can hear the joy in the word. Julie, what great teeth you've got. Because my teeth are quite prominent. They are a large feature of mine. I love it.
There's this whole thing about that where it's like, I mean, we've talked for a while. We're buddies.
Yeah.
We've worked through the workshop together and things. And I just want to point out that, I remember when you were helping some others pass, and when you're talking
Yeah.
about Brad's mom and all of this, like, it is one thing that's really important to you is how you make people feel,
Yes.
and I think that one thing that you have struggled or you have experienced in your life is the anger around other people when don't you know how that makes me feel?
Mm.
And that when other people are disinterested in how you feel, how much that hurts.
Yes. Yeah.
Should you get a number for me?
Number 4, please.
Absolutely. That's nice, please. How far please can go. The Tao is like a well, used but never used up. It is like the eternal void, filled with infinite possibilities. It is hidden but always present. I don't know who gave birth to it. It is older than God. So now
Wow.
after we were talking about all of these things, and I'm trying to look at this chapter and see if there's any kind of correlation. And I'm not seeing anything initially, but I want to get your initial thoughts on what I just read. And it's short, so I can read it again if you'd like.
Well, to me, what came out of that was what is, and
Mm-hmm.
always will be. That's the sentence, basically, that it gave me.
Mm-hmm.
What is, it doesn't matter where it originated or where it's going, it just is and always will be. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's a great message.
I see what you're saying, and I think that I wanna make sure that I'm understanding it right.
Mm.
Like, what is, of course, like this experience right now, regardless of your desire for it to be something else, regardless of
Yeah.
your desire for it to mean something else, it is what it is, and it's just and that's not about being dismissive. It's not about being complacent. It's about being present and honoring
That's right.
what it is.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when we say it always will be, that doesn't mean that that which is at this moment is always going to be that which is, because what is going to change over time.
Yes. Yes.
But as it changes, it still is.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. You got better words than I have.
Well, I want to
Exactly.
make sure that I'm understanding it correctly.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the Tao is like a well, used but never used up. Now, this is interesting as we're talking about things as they are, because when we look at a situation like you and Brad's mom, and the situation of like you not being able to see her for 6 months and all of these things, and you sit with that, and it's sad. There's a sadness to it. There's a,
Mm.
hmm, I miss this person, but I can't see them, and there's nothing I can do about that, and I can't physically be with them, and so this is. Now, that doesn't mean that you have been sad for 6 months. It doesn't mean that you have been unable to accomplish things in your life for 6 months, but that fact remains that it is.
And also in that time, I have I've appreciated her for being. I appreciate her for being.
Yes.
She's still there. She still is.
Yeah. And that's this used but never used up, right? Like you're able to like lean into it without having it like roll you over. Like and you can keep tapping into what is right now, and there is still so much to gain from it. It isn't about you being affected by it so strongly that it's overwhelming. It is
Yeah.
about it being what it is and you being able to see it for what it is at this moment.
Yes.
You know, I chuckled inside when I read the next line. It is like the eternal void. And I talk about my dark retreat so much as the
Mm.
void, filled with infinite possibilities. So anything could be within that void. Anything, like anything could have been within that darkness that I experienced.
Mm.
Like, because there were no walls. I didn't see them. You know what I mean? So that could, and I'm wondering what the eternal void in this verse, it is like the eternal void. The Tao is like the well used but never used up, filled with infinite possibilities like the eternal void. How does that kind of fall into what's going on with you right now?
Well, remember the word feelings. They are eternal, no matter how you use them up. They are forever going to be there.
Hmm.
And when I said that she remembered me because of how she felt when I was there, or when I talked to her, or when she remembers Julie, the word,
Mm-hmm.
not me, it's now become the word. And those feelings are eternal and they're never used up.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. And that's yours, right? And
Yeah.
that's yours. And although she was an experience for you, and you were an experience for her, the feelings are not shared, they're individual.
Yes.
And they're yours eternally.
Yes.
And those feelings are in the void of you, right? In the
Yeah.
void of of that substance that the structure of your body is built off of.
Yes.
It is hidden but always present, right? Like all of a sudden now this starts to wrap up beautifully, right? Because now all of that is hidden behind your skin, behind your teeth, behind your smile, behind all of this structure that is Julie. It is hidden.
Mm-hmm.
And I years ago, if I have time to say this, years ago I was doing pre-production on a documentary I wanted to make on trans people in ministry. And the
Mm-hmm.
whole point was that they had to transition in their lives publicly. You and I can transition quietly. And we
Yeah.
can hide the transitions because the feelings that we have can be hidden within us while we just display our smile.
Mm-hmm.
But the feelings and the eternalness that we are deep beneath is hidden. And who gave birth to that? Who gave birth to your feelings? And your feelings, when did they begin?
Oh, I don't know.
Right? And that's the thing. Like here it says like the Tao is older than God. Like, are your feelings primordial? Are they
Mm.
are they something about your body? Like, is it cause and effect? Or is it something more?
Mm-hmm.
Are those connections that we make deeper than just time, than just space?
Absolutely. That's a beautiful question to leave out there, isn't it? I'm not even going to answer it.
Yeah, no, like these
Even,
questions are about to just like they're really just about bringing in deeper awareness of
yeah.
where we're from and what we have available to us.
Mm,
You know, we always, limit. I am a doctor, I am a lawyer, I am a woman, I am a man. But here we're saying it's like a well, used but never used up, like the eternal void filled with infinite possibilities, always hidden but always present. I don't know who gave birth to it. It's older than God. And yes, we can point to who gave birth to us, but when we think of us, the
mm,
big I, did we really just start X number of years ago? Because we are definitely more than the sum of our parts.
yeah, we are. Absolutely. Oh, my word. Martin, John, all I've got to say is you're fabulous. Thank you for reading to me, for sharing with me the way that you do. You're an
Mhm.
absolute bomb, mate.
Well, I feel very honored to be here and to be sharing this with so many beautiful people like you
Yeah,
and Wendy and Jose and Wendy's such a beautiful support, as are you. Thank you guys so much for all of your support, for everything that I do here on Wisdom and in my life and my work. Um, there is nobody in line, so if anybody wants to come up, you can come right up. And if you have a number between 1 and 81, definitely. Oh, Cecilia, another one of my faves. Uh,
Morning.
Morning.
Welcome back.
Thank you, thank
Yes.
you. How are you? I know you've been on a journey recently.
I'm doing well, and yes, I'm on the journey, and some days less sleep than others, but just doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you just step up and be who you need to be today.
That's right.
Well, it is wonderful to connect with you again, and I did
You
I did
too.
see you I did see you hanging out yesterday when I was talking. It was really beautiful to have you give me a couple claps and stuff. So
For sure.
thank you for
Looking
that.
forward to hearing more about your retreat as well.
Yeah, that's
I hear
all.
little
It's
snippets.
coming. It's
Right.
coming. It's
Great.
coming. It's just it was a big deal. So like it's nice to come on here and just have something to focus on, right?
Right.
Like to do the Tao and but it was big, and I'm still going through some of my notes, and I'm still, and today on my list of things to do today is to make an outline of the physical experience.
Right.
And then we'll do some writing, and then I'll be prepared to kind of talk about it a little bit more in depth.
Wonderful. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So,
So,
yes.
how about we Tao a little?
Okay, so this is my first time up here for the Tao, so
What? Is this the
yeah.
first?
Yeah, so you've always had such a line that I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna
Yeah,
make it
no,
by the
it's
time it's
always,
my
I am
turn. So
so glad to have you here. Like,
yeah.
please give me any number between
Um,
1 and 81.
so I've always been curious about number one.
Number one, oh, number one is beautiful. And it is a beautiful way to, and I always wish every religion, any religious text would express their text in the way that the Tao expresses the beginning of itself. And it
Oh,
starts
beautiful.
with the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The the unnamable is the eternally real. Naming is the origin of all particular things. Free from desire, you realize the mystery, but caught in desire, you see only the manifestations. Yet mystery and manifestations arise from the same source. This source is called darkness, darkness within darkness, the gateway to all understanding.
Wow.
So, what are some of your initial thoughts here?
that we're gonna have to go through this line by line. Yeah,
Okay, so
this is fun.
um, I don't necessarily look at this one as one that we can take the end and put it at the beginning, like as the end definitely talks about mystery, manifestation, and darkness and all this. So it's like it's really
Right.
kind of poetic. So we'll just kind of jump at the beginning. It's like,
Sure.
so the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. What does that mean for you?
I'm sorry. One more time. I'm
Yep.
having a hard time
The
focusing
Tao
with
that can be
cats.
told is not the eternal Tao.
The Tao
The
that can.
name that can be named is not the eternal name. So it just is stating the same thing twice. I mean, basically, it's saying the name that can be named, anything, is not the eternal name. So to just bring this down to one line, if you can explain God, that's not it.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what it's saying here. Like the
Right.
Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao.
Right.
So if I can tell you, so this is the first line of the Tao. If I can tell you what the Tao is,
Right.
that is not the eternal Tao. Start by understanding that. So I would ask you right now in your life, is there anything where it's like you're trying to understand
Uh-huh.
that is too great to
Uh-huh.
ever really be understood?
Well, yeah, two things I can think of like right away is like God, right? Like, because
Yeah,
to me that's everything. But what's everything?
right.
Everything to me is limited.
That's
Because everything to
bingo.
you is different,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
So beautifully put.
Hmm. And then the other thing is like myself, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's some things I learn about myself, and I'm like, wow, I think I understand me. And then there's something else that comes up, and
Right.
it's
And
every
and
day.
and let's not separate you and God so much.
Right, right, exactly, for
Right?
sure.
All of a
Yes.
sudden, like by
Mm-hmm.
you saying what I believe everything is limited, then just the
Mm-hmm.
awareness of understanding that you believe yourself to be limited is a limitation.
Right.
So the
Yeah.
CC that
Mm-hmm.
can be told is not the eternal CC. The one that can be understood is not the eternal one, right? Like I can't, like if I can express what CC is in a volume of 26 books and like, in volumes and volumes of books, like it still wouldn't touch the depth that you are.
Right. Beautiful.
And then it moves on to talk about the unnamable is the eternally real. Naming is the origin of all particular things.
Right. Like objects, or I always say like there's there's so many things out there that I'm never going to see that I can't even imagine, like bugs and critters and things of that sort.
Mm-hmm.
I've only seen what I've seen, and I know that there's other things, but I haven't seen them. But it doesn't mean I don't believe it.
Right. That's like looking into, I came back from the dark retreat. It's like in the dark retreat, I can look and cannot see. That's like not having a name for something, like not making it a particular thing. If I don't separate a tree from the wind, from the grass, from a person, if I don't
Right,
name each one of those, they're all the same thing. And
right,
they are within us. We're
right,
just seeing them as different forms. We're
right,
seeing the energy of us. We're seeing the energy of the universe formed differently.
right,
The unnamable is the eternally real. It is, if you allow a tree to be a tree as it is, if you allow, and I look at this in terms of mental health as well.
mm,
If somebody has a mental illness and you name it, well, now that we've named it, we can put you in an asylum.
right,
Now that we've named it, we can get you, we can move you closer to what we have created as a particular normal,
Right.
even though you have your own normal. But immediately, once we name it, we have begun to close you off into one of those volumes of books that you can fill.
Right, without even like a more understanding or anything, just
Right,
yeah,
because we have a particular understanding of normal
right,
and mental health.
yeah, well,
Free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you only see the manifestation. How does that continue to unfold for you?
say that one more time, please.
Mm-hmm. Free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you only see the manifestation. And we could
Oh,
utilize this in the same way we've been talking about with the idea of naming things.
right. And then like free from desire, then you're not like thinking of like this one end goal, and there's a billion things, that can be if you allow it, rather than
Right.
limit yourself. And then that manifestation may not even be like the thing that you were actually desiring, right?
Yeah. Free from desire, free from the desire of naming something, free from the desire of the goal that you have named in your
Right.
life or whatever. You realize the mystery of everything.
Yes.
Right? You get to
The
realize the
magic.
mystery. Yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
magic of what you're being presented at this moment.
Right.
But caught in desire of having named that which you want and having named all that all the things that you want to experience, you only see the manifestation. You
Right.
only get to see what is. And you're like, oh, I didn't get that promotion. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I didn't get this. I didn't get that. I didn't like, but
Ah,
maybe you're getting what that was pointing to.
right. That used to be so exhausting, you know? Like,
Yeah.
gosh, I remember being there, like, being annoyed with so many things. Yeah,
And that's getting caught in desire.
right,
Caught in, you're annoyed by something because you wanted something else.
right. I thought it should be a different way, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So now we get into these last lines, which really become abstract and strange, and we're gonna have to try and figure these out because so far I think we're doing really well.
Yeah.
um, so yet mystery and manifestation, right? The mystery of being in a place where we're not naming things, we're not describing things, we're not trying to limit things, and
Right.
the manifestation, the physical manifestation of what's happening, arise from the same source. This source is called darkness.
Mm,
What does that look like?
it's called darkness. So the like darkness is like the unknown.
Right. Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which isn't like you know, a bad thing. It's just, we think it's because we don't know what it is exactly. We like to think that, oh, we don't know when we're all like in control in ways, and we're not. And the darkness is the freedom, really.
Yeah. And both mystery and manifestation arise from this. So like there is the unknown, and as soon as we have the unknown, once we experience the unknown, what do we want to do? We want to, when we're nervous
Mm-hmm.
about experiencing the unknown, we start to create names.
Right.
We start to describe what is happening. We
Right.
start to predict. We start to fantasize.
Right.
Then we start to see the manifestation. That's how the manifestation arises from the darkness.
Right.
But the mystery can be experienced through the darkness by embracing that darkness.
Right. Beautiful. I love it.
And just like embracing the unknown, like you
Right.
said, and not trying to define it, not trying to embrace the the structure, but to allow the darkness to be, which then finds our last line: darkness within darkness, the gateway to all understanding. You know, when we embrace manifestation, what we do is we're in the darkness and we light a candle. And then we say, look, I have a particular thing here, and I have a particular thing here, and I have a particular thing here.
Right.
But darkness within darkness, to be dark in your mind
Right.
while you're in the darkness, to allow the darkness to be, is the gateway to all understanding.
Oh, I love it. Beautiful. Just like calm and clear and whatever. Nothing. Yes. Just allowing.
Yes. And you know, we could, and then we make it back to the first line, which is the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao.
Right.
And
Oh, I
and,
love
and
that.
this whole first chapter really revolves around, do you have a desire to create a definition for what you're experiencing? Because if you do,
Hmm.
that definition is not what you're experiencing.
Right. Wow. That's beautiful. I love it so much.
Well,
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad that that was the one that you and I chose, because I think that that one was that's a very powerful verse. And the fact that it is the first Tao is very poignant as well. And as I mentioned earlier, it would be great if every religion would start with, like, yes, what you're reading here is only pointing to something important,
Right.
but the important thing is not what's written here.
Right. Yes. Ah, yes. That's great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Really
Thank you.
enjoyed that for my first one.
Yes, I love it. I think it was perfect, and I'm so grateful that we got to finally do one together.
Yes. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.
Absolutely. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye bye. I'm gonna bring Dr. Rao and then Energy Lady and Empress. Empress. Oh, you were up yesterday, and I had you on for 30 seconds, and you didn't respond, and so I had to drop you off, and I apologize for that. So we're going to bring Dr. Rao up. I'm going to chat with Dr. Rao briefly, and then we'll go to Energy Lady. Doctor, the good doctor, how are you, my
Hi,
friend?
Martin. How are you?
I am doing very well. I'm doing very well.
Yeah, just
The
want to chat with you after the dark retreat.
Yes, yes. Well, you're on a list of mine of people to reach out to, just to like, hey man, this was a good thing, and I'm really grateful that we are connected, because I think the work that the inspirations that you have given me over our time together here on Wisdom really helped me during the dark retreat. So I'm
That's
grateful.
nice of you, Martin. But I'm glad that you had a very wonderful experience. And so, on a quality level, how do you feel now after that?
I feel much calmer in
Mm,
the question.
yeah,
And does that make sense?
makes a lot of sense because when your dark retreat, what it is the stimuli are there, not there. So
Mhm.
because if the stimuli are there, they must be from within you, and
Yes.
that gets purified because you
Yes.
have no external stimuli to deal with, but it's all from within, right?
Right.
So
It,
let me tell you a comparison. I think you will like it.
please.
This is like a incident one uh, very respected person told me. Is about he was in Gangotri, that is like a 10,000 feet above the earth level, in the mountains. The river Ganga is flowing pretty fast at that time, and it was so fast. It was collecting a lot of dirt with it and going on, and also it is dangerous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the stream is small, but it is so fast. There are rocks there and all. If you jump there, they will swept away and people die instantly. Hitting those rocks and all that. That he compared the worldly mind versus in winter time when you go there, this very same river slowed down, almost stand still like icy and all that, but it is so pure. You can throw a rock, you can throw a coin in it, and you can see the inflections of the coin from the above when you can stand on a bridge above it and then see that. It's that
Mm-hmm.
clear. And they
Yeah.
said the purified mind is like that, and you can see through it and through who you really are. I think the dark retreat is supposed to be to purify the mind so that it is so clear I can see through it and beyond it.
Yeah.
Is that appropriate?
Yes. I'm still processing a lot of it.
Yeah.
Like it's only been a couple days since I exited, and so,
Mm.
the exit was
Yeah.
really profound.
Yeah. See, the Tao is there, and you don't have to
Yes.
make any effort to do that. But what it is they said realization or reaching Tao or reaching Brahman or realizing Brahman or realizing Tao is already there is not possible when you have this fast, dirty, and impure mind.
Right.
When you do the purity exercises like this dark retreat, and that we make our mind much more slower, conscious, but deliberate thinking rather than this impure mind muddled with all sorts of things come from everywhere.
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense to me when I was thinking of your experience. I said, "Oh, this is the same like this one
Hmm.
described to me." No, so I should share with Martin when he comes back.
I love that. And
Yeah.
when I entered, the
Mm.
first 2 days was very built on structure.
Yeah.
And then the structure broke down,
Mm.
and what came to the surface was the thoughts. And
Mm.
then by being able to see the thoughts
Mm.
without the structure, because the structure was hiding some of the thoughts.
Yeah.
And then I was able to see the thoughts, and I was able to close the thoughts so that I could be with the Tao, right? I could be with Tao. I
Yeah.
could be quiet. And the last day and a half, 2 days was this amazing just quietness
Mm.
of 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 being
Yes.
without the fantasy,
Yeah.
without all of the thoughts. I'm not saying there weren't any, but they were coming and going, and I was able to experience those
Yeah.
without knowing them. Right?
Wow.
I would the thought would come, and I would notice that a thought would be there, but I wouldn't know what the thought was, and
You
I
are
would
the watch.
already be letting go.
You are the watcher. You are
Yes.
observer. You are
Yes.
the witness.
And I wouldn't have to define
Yeah.
what it was I was witnessing. And then there was a lot, but that
Yeah.
was that and just like the coin, right?
Yeah.
The coin is there. I can see the coin, I can focus on the coin, but I don't have to define the coin.
Mm.
And I don't have to get the coin. I
Yeah.
can experience it just where it is.
That's it. Be in the now, experience it,
Yes.
watch it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, that was it, and it was great. And now it is about integration, and it is about process, and just allowing it to continue to be
Mm.
now. Yeah.
That's the key word, allowing it to.
Yes.
That's nididhyasana in Sanskrit, they say. What it is you saw the truth, you understand that is the truth, and then you allow the truth to seep through everything, including each thought.
Yes.
Yeah. Very nice, Martin. See you again later. Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Ram.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, we're bringing Energy Lady on, and then Empress, and then Namaste City. Namaste City, I would really love to connect with you, so if you can stick around, great. Otherwise, I understand. Energy Lady, how are you, my dear?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
In little by little, we just keep it going.
It,
I'm
it's
doing
got
great,
it's
yeah.
got it's got to be pretty interesting to just go through your process right now, right? Very conscious of it.
Yes, and I'm glad that my Tao of the days are early, because right around 4 o'clock or so, like yesterday, I was like, I have to stop doing stuff now. Like, I
Mm.
can't talk to people. I can't do, like, there's only so much that I can handle in a day. Energetically, I'm very open and so vulnerable and all of that. So
Well, you know what? It's really beautiful that somebody like you and me in that caliber can honestly honor that. I've had people tell me I'm crazy. Why do you have to shut down? And I said, because you don't know what I do all day.
yeah,
I
yeah,
spend my energies in different ways. I'm not the typical 9 to 5. Let's go. Okay, we're done.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's beautiful. Thanks for saying that. Just for me. Um,
Absolutely.
it was just about me. Forget it. Nobody else gets to have it.
That's right. That's right.
Um, but no, I want to tell you, just listening to Julie and Cecilia and Dr. Ralph, it just brought me in circles. I mean, just brought me around, and I'm thinking, I wonder what my number's going to do for me with all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously going to be beautiful because it always is, right? Um, but yeah, that's interesting. So I got number 7.
Number 7. The Tao is infinite, eternal. Why is it eternal? It was never born, thus it can never die. Why is it infinite? It has no desire for itself, thus it is present for all beings. The Master stays behind, that is why she is ahead. She is detached from all things, that is why she is at one with them. Because she has let go of herself, she is perfectly fulfilled.
I think that's the path that I'm on.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm walking to. So this is to me, this would be a light at the end of the tunnel, but there's no end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because all of that I can feel it, I can resonate with it, but I also know that I'm not living it to the depth of what I hear. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it does.
Yeah, no, we have to be able to admit those things. We really, in our society, really like to say, I'm there. I've
Oh,
arrived.
and I
And
was
that
at yeah. Go ahead, keep going. You're gonna say
that's a
exactly what I'm thinking.
that's this kind of disease model, right? Like, that's
Right.
this model of knowing, like how many people of our ilk, right? People who want to be present to allow others to grow, whether they call themselves coaches or therapists or teachers or whatever. Like, we have this desire to express, yes, we are there, and we're still working on ourselves, but we're there. We're still
Right.
working, but we're there, right? And there's this dichotomy of the marketing of how we express strength. And and that becomes a really difficult and tenuous thing to do, but we have to recognize that, no, we're not there, we're here, wherever this is, and we don't have to define this. And I remember telling people in the past, like clients and other friends and other things, like, if you know where you are, you're already leaving that space. So if you recognize where you are, that is where you were, because you can't know where you are because you're there, and who knows where that is.
And how boring that is.
Right, to know where you
Energetically
are.
boring. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you know what? It's interesting. You're sitting here saying this, and yes, you said exactly what I was thinking. So thank you.
Hmm.
But in a much different way. Is it just simply in this space right now? We are offering the opportunity to break down a paradigm of be born, go to school, learn stuff, manners, go to school, get a degree, go pass, go get a degree, then you get a good job. and
Hmm.
and that's the only way you're going to be successful, because if you don't have a degree, you can't do anything. It's like you're never, who's going to hire you, all of that paradigm, that you have to be something. And the only thing I ever wanted to do is be me. And I tell people, I even have friends who go, "Oh, but you know this." And I'm like, "No, I only know mine. I can't do yours." And
Right.
in the concept of business, people wanted me to be that perfect person. And I kept telling them over and over again, "I'm not perfect. I just have this ability that's very different." And they wouldn't see it. And it's breaking down that paradigm for me of what's being taught to me. So that's very interesting that you went to the extent of sharing what you did, because it's true, it's a paradigm of learning. I mean, it's not real, it's just paradigm of learning.
This Tao talks about this verse talks about two different, like each section talks about a different thing, right? There's the first section which talks about the Tao, and the second section talks about the master. And what you're addressing, of course, is in that master section.
can,
And we're
can,
gonna
can I say something about the Tao? I do want to break it
yeah,
down.
yeah.
And this is something I'm learning, and I'm listening, especially working, listening. I'm not working with you, being with you, is and I you said something that God, and I don't know if it was today or yesterday, God is not a real being. You know what I mean? Like a human.
Hmm. Yeah.
And people direct it that way. I think the Tao, people take the same thing. The Tao is a book that teaches a concept. And so it is what it is a specific thing. And when you say Tao, in my head, I say everything.
Yeah,
Every time
yeah,
you
it's all
say
the same.
Tao, it's everything. And I know you mean that, but I've been hearing that over time of people saying, and it's just the circle I'm looking at within myself, is saying, well, the Tao says this, and I'm like, but wait, you know what I mean? It's like, but it's not a book.
Right, right.
And so this is very interesting what you're saying. So let's break it down. I like how you saw the two parables. That's awesome.
Yeah, and so in the beginning, right, we talk about, so what it states is the Tao is infinite, eternal. Why is it eternal? It was never born, thus it can never die. Why is it infinite? It has no desire for itself. And the question we ask is, well, why are you telling me this? Like, why is this verse telling me this? The Tao is infinite, eternal. Why is it eternal? It was never born, thus it can never die. Why is it infinite? It has no desire for itself, thus it can be present for all beings. Okay, so what we understand here is that it is just giving us like the groundwork for
Hmm.
something, because it's
It's
not like
it's simply information.
right, there's nothing we can do with that. That's just information. It has no desire for itself, thus it can be present for all beings. That's really beautiful, but still just really information. It's not desirous of anything, thus it can be used. And we talked about this earlier. It can be used but never used up, and you can use it any way you want, right? So it doesn't matter if you want to use it to murder people or if you want to use it
Hmm.
to make the
Hmm.
world a better place. The Tao isn't judging, because that's
Right.
just
And
information.
look at all the different interpretations of it too.
Right, absolutely. So then we get into everything that we have been addressing thus far, as we've been talking. The
Hmm.
master stays behind. That is why she is ahead. Staying behind relates back to your talking about the idea that you have to get a degree, you have to do all these things. The master doesn't. And it could appear that they're staying behind because they're not going towards all of those manifesting ideas that the world has presented. So we, we appear as masters to stay behind because we can't do your thing. But by staying behind, by not trying to keep up with the Joneses, by not trying to just one up everything and everyone around us, we get to be ahead because we get to be closer to who we are. We get to be closer to Tao, which is eternal,
That is hilarious, because
has no desire for itself. Go on.
but as a child, and even as an adult, I have always been in that space, and I've been told that I'm lazy and I don't want to do what needs to be done, and I'm not willing. And I always knew that was a lie,
Hmm.
energetically a lie. And you just clarified that it was a lie.
Yes. Because moving forward doesn't mean you're ahead. When you move forward in that way that society tells you to continue to move forward,
And
it
you
doesn't
just
mean you're
named it.
ahead.
You just named it because the thing that it's society. The thing that I'm enjoying being and allowing people to see is if you unplug from the wall of society, you can plug in to or just give the plug to the universe and it will work for you. Um, because we don't know what the circuit's supposed to be, but we're taught that if we do this, the circuit will do that.
Right.
Does that
And
make
then
sense?
oh yeah. And then it moves on to say she is detached from all things. Like she is unplugged with your recent
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
She is unplugged from all things. That is why she is at one with them. Like you don't have to be like being attached to something, being codependent with something doesn't mean that you're at one with them. You're at one with their limited desire for what they want.
I so get that. And it's so funny because I thought that I didn't understand why it felt good to be on my own as much as I enjoy it. And now I see why. It's because I really enjoy my space.
Hmm.
Just because I don't have the outer extremities, it's the what I had learned to be around has been telling me it's wrong. And I knew it wasn't because otherwise it wouldn't be here. So that's really cool because I'm just going to keep going in the direction I'm going in. I mean, I got a situation right now that I'm just learning that nope, it's not that person, it's me. It's something I learned. It's something I
Hmm.
learned. Otherwise, it wouldn't be here. I'm talking to myself because
Yeah.
but it's something I learned since probably before I was born inside of my mama. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, that's cool. Is that it?
Then there's one more line.
Mm-hmm.
Because she has let go of herself, she is perfectly fulfilled. And that I think always relates. Anytime we talk about that, that relates to letting go of that identity of who you think you are, who you think you should be.
And that's so interesting. You were talking to I think Cecilia about labels and stuff. And the only reason I want to see like what society labels as a certain personality, like a mental illness of any sort, only so I can feel the energies as it's explained to me. And so I can get the feeling and understand that's what I was feeling and that makes sense. And then there's no more label. It's simply an understanding because in the moment, that's what is being asked for me to see. So I can step, excuse me, step outside of it.
Yes. Yes.
And most people go, "Oh my God, I can't believe that. Oh, it's so sad. Oh man, that's horror." And it's like, wait, whoa.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love that conversation you had with her because that really is where I'm at. But I didn't realize that that's in essence the way the master thinks and
Right.
feels. I didn't realize that. And it just keeps showing me. I love that word master because there's really no ownership to that.
Hmm.
Um, but I really like that because it's really it's allowing me to just stand in that space and say, okay, that's what
Yeah,
it is. Okay,
that's right.
that's what it is. And that's really super cool. I was talking to Julie yesterday telling her I'm going to continue. No, it was actually another friend. I'm going to continue to be the simplest person I am today for the rest of my life, no matter what happens. And she said, "Are you serious?" I said, "No, I have no reason to prove a business or a modality or this or that. But I know in my heart that I want to be me and simple.
Right.
Nobody will know
And
any different. I'll always be this person."
right. And that doesn't mean that one day it's not going to look externally as if you're, in like it can look differently every day. It
Right.
doesn't have
But
to, it
not
might not
internally.
look it might not
Mhm.
look as simple one day, but doesn't mean it's not.
Okay, and I'm going to clarify that before I drop here. I know what I mean by simple,
Right.
but people look at me and don't see the simple. Does that make
Right.
sense? You
So
just
it's
described
not
it.
about them defining it. It's about
No.
you living it.
And people say, "God, I've been getting really good input saying you're inviting. And I went, oh, wow, okay, that's perfect. That's all I
Yeah.
wanted. That's perfect. That's all I want, because I want to
Well, I'm
be able
glad.
to
Yeah,
say,
and we're glad you had that experience. But
yes,
that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to be
right.
simple. I'm here to just be me.
Hmm. Exactly. But thanks for telling me I just gave you a hug. That's all. Because that's as simple as it makes it. So thank you so much, Martin John. This was
Absolutely.
beautiful. Enjoy.
Thank you so much, Empress, Namaste City, and Sharente. So if you guys have to drop off and come back, you will keep your spot. Empress, are you with me?
Yes, good
Oh, my girl.
morning.
How are you, my dear?
I'm wonderful. We just got out of a huge storm last night, and but I'm still standing.
That's what's most important is that we get through the storms. Because there
Okay,
are there are going to be storms no matter what we want. Like
I know that's right.
so
Yeah,
so
so
we
I
we
was,
just stand we keep standing.
yes, absolutely. I was waiting yesterday, and then the moment I walked away from the phone, that's when you called.
Yeah, and I was like, I want to give you time, but I also don't want to like hang out and just
Right, and I
so
said,
I
well, I'll
really
catch him
appreciate you
later.
coming back up and being patient and understanding like
No
everything. Like
problem.
you are
No.
so beautiful, and I'm so glad that we got to connect today.
Thank you. How's my favorite city?
Oh, we're doing good. I just got back, so everything is, spring in Chicago, like beautiful jacket weather. It's,
I
sunny,
love it.
sun on your face, cold nights, so it's like
Yeah,
crisp mornings and like all of that beautiful stuff of just like, like ain't nothing better than a little like chill in your fingers and a hot cup of coffee or something. Like it is,
yeah.
there's just something special about the transitional seasons here in
I
Chicago.
love it. I miss it so much. I do.
And there's just that smell of spring,
Mm-hmm.
and I know
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a gross smell, but I mean it like when you think about it, it's a sweet smell, but it's
Yeah.
really all of everything starting to smell again after being under the snow. And I'm sure it's dog shit and it's garbage and it's other things like that, but there's something sweet in the air. Like
You
you
know,
know
that's our town.
That's right. That's right. It's special. It's something
Ah,
special. So you got a
yeah.
number for me today, love?
I'm gonna take 45 today.
45. Mm. True perfection seems imperfect, yet it is perfectly itself. True fullness seems empty, yet is fully present. True straightness seems crooked. True wisdom seems foolish. True art seems artless. The master allows things to happen. She shapes events as they come. She steps out of the way and lets the Tao speak for itself.
That is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
That's even in alignment with what I was teaching in my morning inspiration this morning, as well as what you were saying a few minutes ago about, beingness, darkness. That's all in alignment
Yes, yes.
with that, because just understanding the presence give us that full protection, that fullness, that true fullness, that fullness. You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah, because we don't need protecting because we're
right,
safe.
right.
But in order to, we have to receive that safety.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it might not seem as if we're safe.
Right. And I was talking about that this morning, and just, allowing ourselves to go into that unknown space only to find ourselves, to discover who we truly are. And that's so important. So I really like that.
Yeah. So let's
Yeah,
start
that's
looking at this. Like, true perfection seems imperfect, yet it is perfectly itself. I have a quote that I say all the time, which is, don't let your definition of the word perfection rob you of yours.
mm,
And And
Mm-hmm.
and this rings to that, right? True perfection seems imperfect, yet it is perfectly itself.
I love it. I love it. Because there's nothing we need to do.
That's right.
We just
We
need
are
to
at
we
just be.
just be. Just
Yeah.
be. Hmm. And trust and wait. Because it will come forth. It will present itself for us to
Mm-hmm.
use.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah. You know, this next line is true fullness seems empty, yet it is fully present. How does that ring for you?
I love it. Yeah, because I mean, I'm just really into that whole teaching and theory about the unknown, because the
Mhm.
fullness comes from the unknown, but we put label on things. We have to name things that we are not certain about,
Mhm.
in order for us to have some carnal level of identity or safety, or needing to attach to something. And what where we are headed, what I was speaking on this morning, is that we are headed into this new age of Aquarius, where the unknown is the new normal.
Yeah, the ungrounded as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea that
So,
it's like it's not cemented anymore.
right, right. It's not the earth. We're going from the earth to the ethers,
Right.
to that
Yeah,
space and
we're
time.
moving from structure to substance.
Mm-hmm.
We're moving from masculine to feminine.
Right.
We're moving in that direction. And like this line, and these lines are really clear, and yet we could jump over this word that is very important here. Seems.
What's the word?
Seems.
Oh, okay.
True fullness seems empty, yet
Mm-hmm.
it is perfectly itself. True perfection seems imperfect, yet it is perfectly itself. True straightness seems crooked. True wisdom seems foolish. True art seems artless. So I want to focus on this word seems as we have read it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different times here.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Seems starts with the premise that we know something.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Seems is a word that presupposes there is a way for something to seem.
Mm-hmm.
For years, we thought that the sun went around the earth, and then we realized that, oh, we were wrong about that. But it's like when you ask, well, why were we wrong about that? Well, because it seemed to go around the earth. Well, then the question remains, well, what would it look like if the earth went around the sun?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, what it seems like doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Because what it seems could be just as wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And
As it could be
because
right.
as it
Right.
could be right, right? Like just
Right.
because if we
Mm-hmm.
look at that, if we look at that kind of big question of like, well, what would it seem like if it was different? That means that you have stepped into this equation, into this situation with a preconceived idea of what it's supposed to look like.
Right.
You have, goes back to the perfection quote of mine, which is, don't let your definition of perfection rob you of yours. True perfection seems imperfect. Well, the only way that it could seem imperfect is that you have a definition of what imperfect is, or
Right.
a definition of what perfect is. Seem true fullness seems empty. Well, that means you have come to the table with your own ideas.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I absolutely love it. And it is that, and it's that seemingly appearance that we need to see to validate.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Boom.
is not
Drop that mic,
so.
girl. Come on.
And this is my ministry. This is what I teach, is really trying to prepare souls for the origination of who they are, because our bodies seemingly are real,
Yeah, they seem real.
but they're not who we are.
Boom. Right. It's so important to understand that these things seem a certain way and what that really means. I mean, I could read this and we could really skip over that word, but how important it is for us to first recognize that things seeming a certain way means that there's a perception that we have of how they're supposed to look. True art seems artless. True wisdom seems foolish
Hmm.
because we are stepping into the situation with a preconceived idea of what we think we know.
Mm-hmm.
The master allows things to happen. She shapes events as they come. She steps out of the way and lets the Tao speak for itself. How does that wrap up for you?
Oh, I love the word she.
She.
She steps out of the way, and that is so important. That is the letting go process.
Yeah.
That's the fluidity process. Being pliable, just however it flows, going downstream. If you bump over a rock, then you bump over a rock, because that rock is there to just, bring your attention to stay focused as you continue to go into and trusting where you're going to go. It doesn't matter where you land, because wherever you land is going to be perfect, whole, and right for you.
That's
But
right.
man has to fix, manage, and control his destiny. And that is why we have the experiences that we do, because we can't see the unknown. We can't see God. We can't see Buddha. We can't see whoever you call them. We can't even see the universe for that matter, because we are contained within the environment of the earth realm. So it is that seemingly appearance that man is struggling with, because he needs to name it in order to understand it. So he
This
knows
brings
how to
together
work through
so
it.
many of the chapters that we talked about today with Julie and Cece and Wendy, everybody, like what you just wrapped up. Like if you've been if you've been listening to this whole thing,
No, I
you'll
have
see that.
not.
Not you, but I'm just saying to the audience
Yeah.
that's listening, anybody that's been
Oh,
listening, like all of these things that Empress just expressed have been expressed in different ways, and this just culminates into this beautiful experience of like, yes, it is hidden within you, within the darkness within you. And from that arises the magic, the mystery of what is who we are. And it's not the seemingly, it's not, it's not what it seems. You are not a mere mortal. You are not small. You are not weak. You are not even strong. You are. And that is, so much. It's like, if you seem foolish, is it more important for you to like seem one way than another? Like we are always afraid of having other people think we're foolish, but that would just be how we seemed at that moment.
love it.
The
That I'm
master
gonna.
allows things to happen. We allow other people to
Mm-hmm.
maybe think we're foolish. That's fine. Maybe we do seem foolish. It's okay. Do we have
Mm,
anything to prove?
mm,
She steps out of the way and lets the Tao speak for itself through you and out in the world as well.
mm. That is a powerful message.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, Empress, I'm so glad to be back and to
I
have you
am.
with me,
I'm gonna
girl.
have to play with this word "seem."
Yes, you play with
I'm
it.
gonna have to. I'm gonna have to play with this word and put something together because it is absolutely powerful message. But thank you so much. My battery is getting ready to go out in about
Yeah.
a few seconds, but I am so glad that you have just touched my life with this word "seem" and giving me something to ponder on. Love you much. See you soon.
All right, sister. We'll see you again. My Chicago sister out there, love you so much. It is such a beautiful Namaste City. You were so patient. I'm so glad. And I want you guys to know that if you do come in line and I do mention you, you will stay in line. If you have to step away, if you have to shut it down and you come back, you will remain in the queue. Namaste City, how are you, my dear?
Hi there. Hi.
How's it going? It's so good to talk with you again.
Good. I know, I'm so excited. I was excited yesterday, but it didn't work out. So I'm glad I'm here
Yeah.
today. And I'm so glad to be listening about your experience in the dark retreat. I've actually been away from the platform myself for the past 2 weeks. I've been traveling and I've been seeing family and taking care of things that haven't really allowed me to get on the platform and talk. So it's been a while. So I'm glad to be reconnecting and specifically with you.
Mm. It's so good. I'm just feeling connected right now, and so I'm really grateful that we're
Yeah,
chatting. Yeah.
yeah,
So we've both been off the app for a little bit,
yeah.
and I'm really glad that we're able to connect. I see you back in New York now.
I'm actually not back yet. I'm coming back in about a week or so.
Okay.
But I'm finally like getting some downtime and I wanna be back on the platform. But it's been great taking a step back, right? And like you said, disconnecting from the different distractions we have every day. And
Mm.
obviously, we love connecting through this app, but sometimes it's good to just take a break internally. And even if we don't necessarily journal or write or talk about those things that we think about, at least it's like a work in progress, right? Because I remember yesterday you were mentioning that you want to try and sum up your experiences throughout this time, right? So that's kind of what I want to do, but it's not that I've been doing it as I go, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like I've
Yeah.
been trying to be present to just experience it.
Yes. Yes. And that's really, like, I mean, so much happened over the last couple weeks with me in the dark
Mm,
retreat that it's like, okay, and I have all of those, but I want to be able to kind of look at them and and
yeah.
and and it's all happening in the moment, and I am being
Mm,
called to just outline it in a way that I can
mm,
observe it, and when I'm
yeah.
able to observe it, I'll definitely just be able to maybe put some connect some new dots.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
yeah. I
um,
can't I can't wait to hear that.
yeah, so I'm very excited about understanding, not understanding as much as just like, huh, this is what I'm doing now. Let's see what this is.
Mm,
Yeah, so I'm excited about it, and we'll see what comes of it. I don't know, like
yeah.
it's like I already feel like I'm clearly a different I don't want to say a different person, but I am clearly in a different state than I was before I left.
Yeah,
So
you feel the growth. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, there's something that has, and
Mm,
I won't know what that is, and nor am I trying to define it. I'm
mm,
just trying to see it and recognize it, and I feel so like my connection to you right now is so deep, and I just want to recognize that and just like hold it for a second because it's so
yes.
beautiful to be with you.
Yes.
Okay, so do you have a number for me?
Okay, so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna take the number of our audience and I'm going to add up 1 plus 4 plus 0. So we got 5.
5. Okay, here we go. 5. The Tao doesn't take sides. It gives birth to both good and evil. The Master doesn't take sides. She welcomes both saints and sinners. The Tao is like a bellows. It is empty, yet infinitely capable. The more you use it, the more it produces. The more you talk of it, the less you understand. Hold on to the center. That's your 5.
Very interesting.
So any first thoughts, any lines that really stick out to you?
Hmm. The fact that it said, there's no good, no evil, and it accepts both sides, and it even reminds me of a conversation we had a long time ago where you were like, there's no negative necessarily, there's no bad thoughts, and it's kind of how you experience them and what you make of them.
Yeah.
And yeah, it spoke to me, because it is true that every situation, everybody has a different perspective, but it really is, even it's not just dualistic, honestly. Like when it started, I think it said infinite, right? It used the word infinite somewhere.
Yeah.
So it even makes me think that it wants to go above and beyond just two sides that we've been taught that exist, right? Through books, through religion, through history. And it really brings this openness, or this opportunity for an infinite amount of opportunities and options we have, and paths we can take in life.
Mm-hmm. You know, like the point that talks about infinite states, the Tao is like a bellows. It is empty yet infinitely capable.
Mm.
You know, this is
Infinitely
interesting because
capable.
like when we talk about like what are you empty of? You're empty of preconception. You're empty of the idea that you know what's right. You're empty
Mm-hmm.
because this is coming from the space of like accepting saints and sinners, good and evil. You are empty of the preconception that you have the answer, that you have the right way of going about doing things, and that there is a definition to it at all. And I think that's what you're getting at. Is that, am I correct?
Yeah, and judgment, right? That like we don't have to necessarily judge and put somebody in either bucket of good or bad, right? We have to listen and accept whatever it is that is there. And I like what you said about preconception, because that's what we usually do. We assume
Mm-hmm.
based on first the I don't know, our first thoughts are probably based off appearance or the first behavior that somebody has, an action towards something, instead of staying patient to see what's underneath, what's
Yeah.
really there.
You know, I look at that. There's a phrase that we've used in a lot of different programs that I've seen that states first thought wrong.
Mm,
You know, the first thought you have is probably wrong. It's good to, you know, there's this beautiful podcast. I don't know if they're still producing, but called Telling on Ourselves. It's these three women that are here in the Chicagoland region that talk about. And so there's these two phrases, right? Telling on ourselves and first thought wrong. And when you
mm,
have a thought that is wrong, sometimes it's good to tell on yourself so that you can remember. And what I mean by telling on yourself is like tell somebody that you had an incorrect preconception of an experience. That way, you can recognize the next time you have a first thought wrong. And the more you can recognize your first thoughts are wrong, the more you'll take that extra step to just be calm, take a breath. And you won't have to move into judgment. You won't have to move into fear. You won't have to move into this space of being under the influence of a first thought wrong.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a good reminder because I think sometimes when you feel very connected to someone, even if you know them for a certain amount of time, you think that you have some sort of intuition that speaks to you and says, "Oh my God, like I definitely know what that person actually meant or what is the best for that person." And you start creating scenarios almost, and it starts getting tricky because you might not actually be able to know that.
Well, you are definitely not able to know that. You are not in their head, right? You are in yours. And so it's
Exactly.
always on you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I want to start going through this line by line, just as like this is
Yes,
so
yes,
far
sorry.
so
Yeah.
very beautiful. So far, like I think we've uncovered quite a bit. Let's just kind of see
Yeah.
where we're maybe able to kind of continue to understand this a little deeper. So
Mm-hmm.
the Tao doesn't take sides; it gives birth to both good and evil. So this first line is just like I was talking with Energy Lady, this is just a matter of fact. The Tao doesn't take sides, it gives birth to both good and evil. Understanding that, when we look at religion, especially if we look at like the major religions, it is definitely, you know, God did not create evil, right? Like there was the creation of evil because of free will and all of these other things, like Damien,
Mm.
whatever, like all of that kind of stuff or whatever. But it's like here it is taking this thing of, it's like, no, the Tao doesn't give a damn about good and evil. Like it allows you to do whatever it is you want there. But then the next line states, the master doesn't take sides. She welcomes both saints and sinners. And the master is always keeping with the Tao. So how is that? How do you see that as being something that we could incorporate into our lives?
The master takes no sides, right?
Mm-hmm. She welcomes both saints and sinners.
Yeah. I think I think it goes back a little bit to what we were saying on judgment,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a little tricky because you take no sides, right? So you're supposed to stay open to and more neutral to whatever is happening. But
Mm-hmm.
then but then still, are you supposed to acknowledge that there's some sort of good and some sort of bad? Like it it takes no sides. So what does that really mean? Like you take no sides in some sort of a conversation when somebody is opening their heart about something, or when they're telling you I'm doing this and it can be considered good or bad.
Well, the two words that I think are may help fill this out. I don't know. Is she welcomes both saints and sinners. So the master doesn't take sides. She welcomes both saints and sinners.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, like, one, by naming saints and sinners, and we read
Yeah.
chapter 1 today, that the naming
Yeah,
of
I think
things
I
is really going.
sorry, yeah, you were getting a little bit cut off. But yeah,
Oh,
I think it clearly goes back to just being a good listener, right? For whoever you have in front of you and being supportive in whatever that is that either they're going through they're trying to communicate to you,
And I think
and
that's
not
beautiful.
judging them about it, right?
Yeah, and I think that's beautiful as we read the next line. The Tao is like a bellows, empty yet infinitely capable. Right? Like that's what listening is. Empty
Yeah,
yet infinitely capable. The more you use
yeah,
it,
yeah.
the more it produces. The more you talk of it, the less you understand. Listen.
Exactly. Yeah, it is. It is powerful. And I understand it the more I connect with people. I understand that it's so much more powerful than giving advice.
Right? It is like you
Yeah.
can't you there is no advice to give. I
Yes.
today I had a quote. Okay, namaste. You're gonna drop. I love you. Thank you so much for coming.
Love you. Thank
So I just wanted to wrap up that one with Namaste City with this statement, this quote that I put out today. You'll see that on Instagram and other things. Do you think you can help other people? You're wrong. There are no other people. And that, once again, is like you welcome saints and sinners because that is you. That is where you're at. Sharente is coming up. Thank you so much for being patient, Sharente. And then Lois is in line. And after Lois, I'm calling it just because I have to. Sharente, how you doing, girl? Are you with me? I know sometimes things kind of get glitchy and what have you, so I'm gonna pause. We're gonna give you, oh, there you are. I hear something.
Hey, can you hear me?
Hey, yes, I can. How you doing?
I'm doing good. My AirPods are being silly. Can you just give me 1 second?
I'll give you a second. Go on. As
No.
long as you're there. I give like just like I was talking with Empress yesterday, I had to cut her off after 30 seconds. I'll give you guys 30 seconds. If you can't make it happen by then, I have to
Come on, Bandit.
call it.
I will say I've been liking your guys' conversations. Give me a lot of clarity. And I will say one thing that you guys were talking about the good and the bad, and you guys are like it's technically both. I was thinking about Venn diagrams, and when we learned about them in grade school, I
Hmm.
was like, we're just the middle. We're always the middle, kind of thing. But I just thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's definitely true. And it's really it's important to understand that we embody balance, and so we have to be able to understand all of it. That doesn't mean that we're all going to ultimately be the same. We're going to have different balances within our lives in different ways.
Oh yeah, and I will say, like I said, it's just been very good. And I saw your quote today, and I was like, "Oh, I'll be." Yeah, you're right. You're right. And I was like, because I was no, because my ego said, "No, he's no, yeah, he is." And I was like, "Yeah, he is." I was
You
like,
know, it's funny. That's the exact like that's what I very much expected. As I was writing it, I was like, people are going to hear this and they're going to experience this in a very specific way that is about them. And I think when they do that, when that moment comes in, when it's like, no, there are other people, and like this is, like. And I think, and with what I wrote as well, I was really, I'm really glad that you said that, just because it's tough. It's tough putting out some of the things that I put out, because it's like not only are they like kind of bigger statements, they're sometimes go against popular ideas that are currently circulating.
"Oh yeah, definitely." And I will say, my number today is 43,
Beautiful.
and I
Thank you.
don't have it with me because I am taking my dog to the groomer right now.
Oh, good. The gentlest thing in the world overcomes the hardest in the world. That which has no substance enters where there is no space. This shows the value of non action, teaching without words, performing without actions. That is the master's way.
I am here. I
I
have
know.
dogs barking in my background.
Okay.
Um,
Did you hear that?
so kind of, sort of. I'll be honest. I'm a kind of, sort of person. That's why I said This is me where I'm like, I'm here. I am listening, but I'm also having to listen. I'm doing too much right now.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
be
what it
absolutely
sounds
honest.
like. So,
So,
so
and I
I'm
just,
gonna go ahead. What I'm gonna have you do is I'm gonna have you tend to your stuff,
can we
but
swap
just
beats?
mute. Just mute yourself, and tend to your stuff and listen as I utilize the situation that I understand you to be in as a kind of as a touch point for expressing this line by line and going through this. So the gentlest thing in the world overcomes the hardest thing in the world. That which has no substance